Continuing from where I left off with chapter 4, in this chapter we're talking about how decisions are made by managers. And again, if we consider the current situation, it's stark, that realisation that this process that we talk about in this chapter is exactly the process that governments around the world are making right now. And you can recognise those key parts of the decision-making process as they are happening. Again, remember that there are certain key phrases here that you need to remember. Very important: opportunity cost. It's really important that you realise that for every decision that's made, a different decision has been lost out on. So for every time that you make a decision to do one activity, it stops you from another activity. My dad always used to come out with the phrase, because he was a pessimist, instead of saying, so what he used to say was, as one door opens, another door closes. It's supposed to be a more optimistic. It's supposed to say, never mind if you didn't get something, as one door closes, something new will occur. But he was a pessimist, so he always thought that once you took one opportunity, all the other chances that you had for other ideas were closed off to you. Once you took one job, you couldn't take another. He was a pessimist. So, as I say, I think we can so clearly see at the current time that this process is happening. And what is happening is that governments, and so I'm comparing this to how a company as well would work, governments are taking in that they're having to make daily decisions, which they are then having to communicate very clearly to their subordinates or their members of staff or the people in the community or the country. To do this, they are constantly gathering information. They're analysing it, and this is a very important case because this is a situation where it is entirely new. The data is coming in daily, particularly from countries that are further ahead than us, and we and other countries are constantly analysing the meaning of new data. They are then determining the strategy, the model that they will inflict, if you like, or put to their people. And then what's happening is that regularly they are reviewing that and rolling this back out again. And you are seeing from the daily briefings their objectives of what the government feels will be successful, what their timing is going to be, and other factors. So this is a really good example of how this is being used. I won't take a long time on this page here, but what you need to remember is that there is always uncertainty, and whether you're answering an A-level question or whether you're writing a report for a client, you will never find that there is an obvious 100% chance of a correct decision. You will always have to be taking in data that is either from the past or guesses and calculations about the future, which are both not 100% reliable. And so there is always this uncertainty. You want to be taking, if it's a company, you will decide which risks are worth taking to gain a particular reward. And then what we need to look at is how do they make decisions. There is a combination. Some of the decision making will be using data, and this is called scientific decision making. And for that, one of the tools you've been given this year is decision trees. And then, of course, you also need to bring in your intuition to determine other factors that can't be so easily calculated and put into a mathematical model. So, decision trees are very good for laying out flat and clearly factors that will affect a decision. Here is an example decision tree. So we have a decision, and then we have two opportunities, two choices. Remember, it's always good to have a do nothing, but I suppose the expand to China, develop the UK market. An alternative that you ought to include is do nothing. Then we are deciding this. The rest of this is entirely probability. It's a probability tree written on its side. So you say what's the probability of success and failure for each action. And remember, those two must add up to 1. And you say what would be the value if there is success and if there is failure. And you also have put into this how much would each of these actions actually cost. So you can then do a calculation of the expected value, which is purely doing a probability calculation of 0.4 times this value added to 0.6 of this value. That will come out with your kind of what you could come out with. We recognise in probability that value cannot happen. That is a little bit of success and a little bit of failure. The chance of success times by its value added to the chance of failure and its value. And then the same done for the other option. Then, of course, from this, what you do is you take the cost, you take the expected value, how much could you get from this opportunity, and you take off the cost of taking that opportunity. And that gives you your net gain. What would you get if you took the cost of it away from the reward? Now remember that although you are given a value, what you must do is you must look at the percentage chance of success. If you have a very, very small chance of success for a very, very large amount, it will skew the answer to pushing you towards that answer, to that choice. But you, in your intuition and in your thinking, because no answer is clear-cut and no calculations are 100% certain, you need in your report to explain to the manager who has set you this, whether it's a company or whether it's in the exam, what you truly would recommend for them. And it may not be where the calculation finishes. It may be that you would recommend a different option that mathematically isn't the best, but taking into account the chance of success and the cost of setting up may feel like the best of two possibilities. And finally, looking at the influences on decision making. And again, we are looking at different factors within the company. For example, what the company wants to do. Elon Musk has a mission statement which is very exciting and breaking into new ground. As a result of that, he is very happy to take decisions that have a very low chance of success, because when he does have success, it pushes him into new areas. Whereas a company that is just starting out without very much money, or that is required to be stable and continue its existence, for example, a railway line, a railway company, might have much more safe decision making. Whether there is competition in the market, constraints about what can actually be achieved. 20 years ago, we couldn't have been taking lessons from home. It just wasn't possible. Whereas now, a decision at our college was made almost instantly that we would teach from home because those resources are now available. And remember, those pestle factors will also impact what the decisions made are.